Shalom, this is Shira Sherbo coming to you from Sfat, Israel. And you know how things just come together in such a way that you know it has to be God? Well, that's kind of what happened to me this morning. Just someone saying something to you, or you reading something, or things that happened during the week, and it just all kind of comes together. Okay, so it started, um, this morning. My neighbor came over and she asked to use my dryer. And so she started telling me that she used to have a dryer, and an evil person has her dryer. So I don't know all the details, but the important part of the story is that she said that she heard a teaching that when something precious has been taken from us or we've lost it somehow, that we should speak it out loud. And so she told me that she is claiming for herself to have a dryer, that she wants to get her dryer back, or she just needs a dryer. So she's speaking it out loud. And she said if you're walking along the road and there's just a pencil or a pen on the road, and you can assume that the owner has forgotten about it, it's not important. But when things are really important to us, like our dryer, or more important, like a relationship, anything that we feel like we've lost, she said that in this teaching she heard that we're supposed to speak it out loud and claim that we're going to recover it. Okay, then this week my friend gave me a book. It's an international bestseller that I've been reading. I can hardly put it down. But it's called Home. And what happened was these two 6-year-olds were kidnapped, and 10 years has gone by, and there's only one person that hasn't given up looking for them, and that's one of the boys' uncle. And you can go on the computer and you can age a picture, and so he's got the 6-year-olds what they looked like when they were 6, and you can see from the computer what they look like now at age 16. So he's actually looking for two 16-year-olds at this point, and so it's just really exciting book about recovering something valuable, the valuable children that were lost. All right, and then something made me remember a game that we used to play when my kids were little at birthday parties. We used to get little cards, like, say, Valentine cards, because they're kind of cheap. You just get little cards and you cut them in half. And so if there's 20 kids at the party, you get 10 cards and cut them in half, so each one gets a half. And then you say, go, and they scramble around the room, and they have to find their missing half. And then so it's a challenge that's put out to the winners who find each other first get a prize. And I guess I thought of that. I don't know why I thought of that, but this morning I was also reading about the Super Bowl and how people are saying there wasn't enough challenge. There wasn't a challenge. It wasn't exciting enough. It's one of the most boringest Super Bowls. But 2 weeks before this last Super Bowl, there was a very exciting game that I got up. In Israel, you got to get up in the middle of the night to watch the football games. And some of the people in my family were rooting for Kansas City, and some were rooting for the New England Patriots. And so I was just curious, and so I got up to watch the playoff game of a few weeks ago. And it was so exciting. There was so much scoring. It went back and forth, and it ended in a tie, and then they went into overtime. And so that will probably go down as one of the most exciting games ever, and probably more of what people were wanting for a Super Bowl game. So that all comes together in my mind of everything that happened with my neighbor and her dryer, and recovering what is lost in this book that I'm reading with the kidnapped boys, and the Super Bowl not being exciting enough. And when God created the world, the first letter that is in the Bible is the first word of the Bible is Bereshit, in the beginning, and so the first letter is B in our Bet. In English we say B. The second letter of the Hebrew Aleph Bet is a Bet, and a Bet is shaped like a house. And so God created this problem to bring pleasure. He created something that we as human beings have to fix and overcome. So like with the little party game, like everything was one, and then God separated heaven and earth, and the goal from that time on is to bring them back together. And this is all symbolized in the letter Bet. The letter Bet is shaped like a house. It's kind of shaped like a tent. This is the roof, and this is the back wall, and this is the ground, and the ground floor, and then this is the opening. Okay, so I've been telling you that there's lots of meaning behind all of the Hebrew letters, and this is just the tip of the iceberg for the letter Bet. But when you see the meaning, it just all comes together, just what's been happening today and what I've been reading and my neighbor and everything else. So God came down on Mount Sinai. And so this is his knowledge, his seed. It was brought down in a knowing. A knowing is a oneness. A oneness is like, knowing is like a marriage. Like Adam knew his wife Eve and she bore him a son. So what happened on Mount Sinai was God came down and there was a knowing. He said, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt. So everyone knew it was God. There was a oneness between heaven and earth. So God's wisdom comes down and there's a knowing and it's brought down to earth. So heaven comes down to earth in this knowing, in this marriage. And instructions were given on how to build a home for God, how to make this world a home for God. And the part that can bring a lot of either pleasure or danger is the opening. The opening is an invitation to come in, but it has to be a lot of responsibility, it has to be guarded. We have to guard the opening of our house, so to speak. So what has happened over time is that something very precious was stolen from us. What came down on Mount Sinai was supposed to be a wonderful inheritance. Like King David said, it was his occupation all day long. It said it meant more to him than silver and gold. It made him wiser than his enemies. But by the time it gets to us in our generation, we no longer are being taught about all these instructions that came down on Mount Sinai. We're being told that our husband in this marriage is old, is done away with, and so more and more people are wanting to recover what's been lost. And so this is what's going on in the world now. And God said, if you seek me, you'll find me, if you seek me with all your heart. He gives us free choice, and so it's up to us to choose to recover what was lost or not. And so it's very challenging because you're going against the grain of society, but our God, our husband on Mount Sinai is not old. He's faithful. He's still able to give pleasure. He is forever. He's outside of time. His words are eternal. And so, in the end, every single creature that walks the earth will recognize and know who God is. All right, that's all for now. Hi, honey. So, we'll talk more later. Lahi Traot. Bye for now.